Ancient Irish legends speak of a mysterious race who came from the skies, bringing with them magic, weapons, and knowledge far beyond their time. They were called the Tuatha Dé Danann. But what if they weren't just gods from myth? What if they were extraterrestrial beings? In this video, we're going to uncover the strange truth behind Ireland's so-called gods, and why the Tuatha Dé Danann might have been aliens all along. The Tuatha Dé Danann translates to the tribes of the goddess Danu, are described in the medieval Book of Invasions as one of Ireland's earliest people. They were said to be tall, radiant, powerful, and almost otherworldly. They defeated rival tribes in great battles, ruled Ireland for generations, and then mysteriously vanished, retreating underground into their mounds that we see today. Folklore remembers them as gods, or later as the Sidhe, the fairy folk of Ireland. But their story is full of strange details that sound less like myth and more like contact with someone not of this earth. The Tuatha Dé Danann were said to have ruled Ireland from roughly 1897 BCE to 1700 BCE. This is according to the Irish manuscript, the Annals of the Four Masters. While these dates are recorded in legendary texts, like the Book of Invasions, they are considered fictional rather than historical fact. So let's start with some of the evidence. The Tuatha Dé Danann were said to have arrived in a grey cloud of mist. Some say it was a magical fog, but what if the ancient witnesses are describing flying ships descending from the skies and had no other way of explaining this? Their arrival wasn't by sea like normal invaders. It was from above. The Tuatha Dé Danann brought with them 4 treasures: a sword that never lost in battle, a spear that never missed a target, a cauldron that provided endless food, and a stone that cried out when touched by a true king. These sound like technology, not myth. Weapons more advanced than anything seen at the time. A cauldron that provided food endlessly. A stone that could identify rulers. To a Bronze Age people, this would look like magic. To us, it sounds like advanced tech. The Sword of Light. A sword that guaranteed victory and never lost in battle. Could this have been some form of advanced weapon? Metal stronger than bronze? Or even a beam of light like a laser? To early people, this would look like unstoppable magic. The Spear of Lu. Think of a weapon guided by advanced targeting. A projectile that always found its mark. To Bronze Age warriors, it would be unimaginable technology, like heat-seeking missiles. The Cauldron of Dagda. A bottomless cauldron that could feed armies endlessly. This might represent advanced knowledge of agriculture, preservation, or even a device that generated or replicated food immediately on the spot. Imagine encountering a machine that could provide endless nourishment. It would seem divine. The Stone of Fall. A sacred stone that cried when the rightful king touched it. Could this have been a device that reacted to energy, sound, or even just the human body? Something that identified rulers through vibration or light. Ancient people would see this as proof of kingship obtained by the gods. It's not just their technology that seemed otherworldly. Their described appearance also raised questions. Legends described them as taller, more beautiful, glowing with light, and possessing knowledge far beyond humans. In Irish lore, they often appear shining, radiant, and ageless. Descriptions eerily similar to modern reports of extraterrestrial encounters. The Tuatha Dé Danann weren't just warriors with magical weapons. They were also said to possess incredible knowledge of the cosmos. Legends described them as masters of prophecy, time, and fate. They could see into the future, and their rituals were tied to movements of the sun and stars. And across Ireland, monuments connected to them revealed this wasn't just myth. Take Newgrange, a massive passage tomb built over 5,000 years ago, older than the pyramids. At first glance, it looks like a burial mound, but every year on the winter solstice, the rising sun shines through the narrow passageway, illuminating the chamber deep inside. This shows a level of astronomical knowledge far beyond what we usually credit to prehistoric people. Many believe Newgrange was a temple of the dead, or a calendar of the seasons, but could it have been more? A marker of the Tuatha Dé Danann's presence, proof that they carried with them an understanding of the stars and cycles of the universe that came from far beyond. But here's the mystery. The Book of Invasion places the Tuatha Dé Danann's arrival around the Bronze Age, thousands of years after Newgrange was built. So how do we explain a monument aligned perfectly with the stars, centuries before their supposed arrival? Could it mean the Tuatha Dé Danann, or whoever they really were, have been visiting the Earth for far longer than we realise? So why the gap? It may have been that the story of the Tuatha Dé Danann was passed down orally for thousands of years, long before it was ever written down. By the time the scribes recorded it, the dates no longer lined up. Or it could suggest something else entirely. That the Tuatha Dé Danann weren't tied to one singular period of history. Maybe they were remembered because they had returned to Ireland more than once, leaving traces of their knowledge in monuments like Newgrange, thousands of years apart. And if that's true, then this question becomes chilling. Just how long have they been visiting Earth? And why have they not returned, revealing their powers like they once did? The Tuatha Dé Danann didn't rule forever. According to the Book of Invasions, their reign ended when the arrival of the new people, the Milesians, seen as the ancestors of Ireland. The two sides clashed in what became known as the legendary Battle of Talchu. Fought across Ireland, they eventually overcame the Tuatha Dé Danann through cunning and sheer numbers. After their defeat, the Tuatha Dé Danann didn't simply vanish. The legends say that they retreated underground, into great burial mounds and earthworks. These mounds became entrances to another world, the realm of the fairies, hidden from human sight. But what does that really mean? Was this just myth explaining why the gods disappeared? Or did they describe it as something else? Could the Tuatha Dé Danann have literally hidden in subterranean bases beneath the hills? Or just departed back to the stars from which they came? To their enemies, it looked like they had gone underground. To us, it might sound like they returned to their origins, to another world entirely. The Irish weren't alone in stories like this. Around the world, ancient cultures told of godlike visitors. The Egyptians told us of gods like Osiris and Thoth, who came from far beyond and brought knowledge of writing, agriculture, and the stars. They were depicted as half human, half divine, just like the Tuatha Dé Danann, who stood apart from the ordinary mortals. In Central America, the Maya and Aztecs spoke of Quetzalcoatl, a feathered serpent god who descended from the heavens, taught civilization, and then promised to return. A similar story to the Tuatha Dé Danann's arrival and retreat. In India, the ancient Vedas described the Devas, shining beings from the heavens, who fought wars with advanced flying machines, again gods with weapons of light, echoing the sword and spear of the Tuatha Dé Danann. Even indigenous people around the world speak of sky beings, star people, or ancestors who came from the heavens to guide humanity. These aren't isolated myths, they're part of a global pattern, memories of ancient encounters with advanced beings, retold in the only language people had at the time, myth. Could the Tuatha Dé Danann have been Ireland's piece of the same worldwide puzzle? So, were the Tuatha Dé Danann simply Ireland's ancient gods, or were they something more? Beings who arrived from the skies, carrying technology mistaken for magic. Glowing figures who shaped Ireland's earliest legends, and then disappeared into the earth, or perhaps into the stars. The line between myth, history, and alien contact is far thinner than we think. But what do you believe? Were the Tuatha Dé Danann gods, or were they aliens? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video and want me to explore more topics like this one, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching.